Sarah Turner used to believe in the safety of countdowns. She counted school lunches, bedtime stories, unanswered calls, and every lonely night her husband spent half a world away. But most of all, she counted the days until Staff Sergeant Michael Turner came home from Iraq. 14 months of deployment had hollowed their family into routines built around absence: a missing chair at dinner, a silent phone on the bedside table, a father who lived in pictures taped to the refrigerator. When the Red Cross message arrived approving emergency leave, Sarah let herself believe again. Christmas was no longer a lonely ritual of pretending. It was a promise. But war has a cruel way of rewriting plans. This is the story of the 10 days that were supposed to bring a family back together, and the moment that destroyed everything they were holding on to. 1. The countdown. Sarah Turner taped the Red Cross message to the refrigerator with shaking hands. Emergency leave approved. Arrival, December 22nd. After 14 months of deployment, 2 extensions, and more canceled promises than she could remember, Michael was finally coming home. Their living room transformed overnight into a shrine of anticipation. 6-year-old Emily made paper chains and tore one off every morning before school. 4-year-old Noah slept with Michael's faded marine t-shirt because it still smelled faintly of soap and desert dust. Sarah imagined Michael's boots by the door, his crooked grin when he saw the crooked star on the tree. She stopped watching the news. She let herself believe in a future again. For the first time in over a year, she bought gifts without wondering if she was being foolish. 2. Almost home. The call came late at night, the kind that made Sarah's heart hammer before she even answered. The connection was terrible, filled with static and distant shouting, but she heard Michael's tired smile through the noise. 10 days, babe, he said. He joked about burning his uniform the minute he landed. He asked about the kids. Sarah held the phone to her ear like it was oxygen, memorizing the sound of his breathing. He told her he was exhausted in a way she had never heard before, not just physically, but deep in his bones. She wanted to confess how scared she was, how the kids had started asking whether promises meant anything. Instead, she said the only thing she could. "You're almost home," he whispered. "I love you more," and the line went dead. 3. Saturday morning. December 18th arrived like any other Saturday. Emily brought home a glitter-covered picture frame from school that read "Best Dad Ever" in crooked blue marker. Noah lined up toy dinosaurs beneath the tree, announcing how many sleeps were left until Daddy came home. Sarah burned the first batch of sugar cookies because she was lost in a daydream of Michael laughing at her for ruining another recipe. His stocking stayed empty on purpose. That night, she fell asleep on the couch with her phone resting on her chest, waiting for a message that never came. She didn't know this was the last normal moment of her life. 4. The knock. 3 sharp knocks shattered the quiet at 8:17 a.m. Sarah felt it before she heard it, a cold weight dropping into her stomach. When she opened the door, 2 men stood perfectly still on the porch, one in marine dress blues, one in a dark suit. The world seemed to mute itself around them. "Mrs. Turner," the Marine asked gently. Sarah stepped aside without a word. Inside, they sat stiffly on the couch like they were afraid to disturb the Christmas decorations. The officer removed his cap and folded it in his hands. "Your husband was leading a patrol near Mosul when an improvised explosive device detonated." The words floated past her like they were being spoken underwater. "Staff Sergeant Michael Turner was killed in action." The room spun. She screamed. 5. The children. Sarah collapsed to the floor before she even realized she was falling. The Christmas tree blinked cheerfully beside her while the men spoke words she would never remember. Emily crept halfway down the staircase, clutching the banister, her eyes fixed on the uniforms. Noah peeked from behind her, holding his father's old shirt like a blanket. One of the men gently guided them back upstairs, his face carved from stone. Sarah lay on the carpet and begged her heart to stop beating because living felt unbearable. That night, she told the children Daddy had been hurt and Mommy needed to be sad for a while. They nodded with the solemn trust only children have, unaware that their childhood had just ended. 6. The silence. In the days that followed, casseroles arrived in aluminum trays and neighbors spoke in whispers. Sarah replayed Michael's last voicemail until the battery on her phone died. Emily kept tearing off paper chains, even though there was no reason to count anymore. Noah asked why Daddy didn't call today, and Sarah discovered that grief had no vocabulary for children. She slept in Michael's t-shirt and pressed her face into the pillow where he should have been. 10 days before Christmas, she had been planning a homecoming. Now she was planning a funeral. 7. The flag. They returned a week later with a folded American flag. Sarah accepted it like it was made of glass. At the funeral, Emily traced the gold trim with her finger and whispered, "This is Daddy." Noah tried to crawl into the casket because he thought his father was sleeping. Sarah stood between her children and the world, nodding at condolences she couldn't hear. The church smelled like pine and candle wax and fresh grief. When the rifle salute echoed outside, she didn't flinch. Nothing could be louder than the silence Michael had left behind. 8. The empty Christmas. Christmas morning arrived anyway. Sarah forced herself out of bed because the kids deserved one day that didn't start with tears. They opened presents quietly. Emily set a plate for Michael before Sarah noticed. Noah waited by the door all morning, convinced Daddy was just late. That afternoon, Sarah finally broke. She told them the truth in words soft enough not to shatter them. Emily didn't cry. She just asked, "So he's never coming home?" And when Sarah nodded, her daughter said something that would follow her forever. Then, why did he promise? 9. Aftermath. Months passed. The casseroles stopped. The world moved on. But in Sarah's house, time stood still. Emily stopped making paper chains. Noah stopped sleeping with his father's shirt. Sarah learned that grief doesn't shrink, it just changes shape. She packed away Michael's uniform but left his boots by the door because pretending he might return hurt less than accepting he never would. 10. Almost home forever. Michael never made it home for Christmas. But in Sarah's heart, he is still 10 days away, still smiling through static, still whispering, "Almost home, babe." The Marines came to her door, but they couldn't take that voice from her memory. And every December, when the house fills with lights again, she counts 10 days backward and remembers the man who was supposed to come home, and the family he never got to see grow up. Years from now, Sarah will still remember the exact sound of that knock. Not the volume, not the rhythm, the finality. She will remember how her daughter once believed promises could not be broken, and how her son waited by the door long after Christmas ended. She will remember learning that patriotism can be stitched into a folded flag, but it cannot tuck children into bed or keep a marriage alive. Michael Turner did not die alone in a desert. He died with a family already building a life around his return, a wife burning cookies in anticipation, a little girl counting paper rings, a little boy saving a t-shirt like treasure. They told her he was coming home for Christmas. And when the Marines came instead, they didn't just deliver bad news. They ended a future that had already begun.